host, Justin Abrams. I'm the CEO and co founder of Cause of a Kind. We build software and websites for you. I'm in an interesting position because uniquely so, maybe not in the industry entirely, but for me in my world and where I sit, I specialize in a moment and it's zero to market. I'm really good and have built a business of building things, businesses, products, software, web experiences from nothing to market. But what happens after that? How can businesses prepare themselves for a strategic future? How can you align yourself, your people, your mission to really have goals and to orient yourself in an appropriate way that gives you an advantage as early as possible? One of the things that I think about with my mentors, my business partner all the time is what are the things that we're doing today to give us the best opportunity for a future? And I talk about this with my customers at all times as well. What are the things that you're doing today that are going to give you building blocks for a successful opportunity whenever that opportunity may show up? So I'm fascinated with this moment because I specialize in the earliest stages of business from zero to market. But after you scale, after you find your traction, after you find your product market fit, what happens next? And so, like I usually do, I brought a specialist. And so for this episode of Strictly from Nowhere, I welcome Andrew Gazdecki, founder and CEO of Acquire.com. Andrew, welcome to this episode of Strictly from Nowhere. I've been watching you for quite some time before you had all of this noise around the business and around yourself. And I'm a total student of your moment and what you've built. And I can't wait to unpack your zero to market story.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you having me.
Dude, I'm stoked to have you. I really am. Like I said, I've been watching you for quite some time. I've watched you build the business in public, and I think that's a masterclass in kind of owning your narrative and whittling away to your thesis and trying to find your path and your people. And so I'm a student of what you've been building, and I'm a super fan. And I'm stoked to unpack the story today. I wonder if we could just get started by humanizing it a little bit. Tell me
Sure.
a little bit about you and your human experience, maybe what makes you unique outside of work.
Yeah. Brief introduction. Name is Andrew Gazdecki. Been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. Maybe a fun fact about me: I was actually born in Detroit. Not many people know that. I lived there till I was 5, and then my parents decided to do the live by the beach SoCal thing. So I actually grew up in a town called San Clemente. So I went from like the worst town to grow up in, maybe not the worst, but like the best town to grow up in, right by the beach. Surfed growing up. And living there, that's kind of where I got into entrepreneurship. I naturally was like that kid selling baseball cards, and my friends' parents with big houses. I was always like, "How'd you get this? Like, what'd you do for work?" So I just fell in love with building businesses.
I love that, man. Quintessentially so for the show. This is really about like the earliest experiences building businesses and trying to find your zero to market moment. I wonder, what is your relationship with entrepreneurship? It sounds like you started really early on, but where did you find, the path towards entrepreneurship instead of maybe going full-time career, instead of specializing in something like why business?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come from too much, and a lot of my friends had like everything. They had like 2 cars and big house and pool. I didn't have that growing up, so it just and my upbringing was great. We weren't like starving or anything like that, but just the difference between wealth and not having wealth, I think, was just really obvious to me because I go to my friend's house and they're balling, and I go to my house and still a great home, but it just that contrast growing up just made me super interested in achieving that style of success. So from like an early age, like friends would be collecting Pokemon cards and stuff like that. I'd be selling them to like make money. Same with baseball cards, same with yo-yos, and I just liked it. I just liked sales. I liked having these little side businesses. And I always like just making stuff too. Growing up, I like playing with Legos and Lincoln Logs and that sort of stuff. So building a business where you get to kind of like build each part, just fell in love with it. And I think my first business that I ever started was like this like eBay resale business. I was making like a couple grand a week in high school. I thought I was like living the dream. So I just kind of fell in love with it based on like business is doing well. You have a little bit of extra cash, and every decision is yours. So yeah, from an early age, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was the kid that grew up. I literally told people like some kids grow up and they want to be like the quarterback of a football team, or whatever. I was like, no, I want to be CEO of a company.
Hell yeah.
My friends are like, huh, that sounds lame, but that's what I want to do.
I find entrepreneurship quite fascinating from the perspective of, if you want to be an entrepreneur but also be a specialist, so take like a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, being a businessman is separate from earning that degree or that credential. So you could have been a CEO and owned a doctor's office. You could have been a lawyer and
Yeah.
been like your own private firm, but like there, like me, was always going to be this path towards ownership and towards building something and putting your name on something. But like, you correct me if I'm wrong, this is the hardest path. Like, regardless of an education or trying to pursue any type of, specialty or anything, owning a business is not the easiest path towards building wealth, towards building a name for yourself. There are probably easier ways to do those types of things, but it's like this draw. Like, there's like this purpose towards building a business, and I feel it every day. I felt it since I was a little kid too, and just like the entrepreneur spirit just lives deeply within me. It sounds like it's within you as well. But I wonder, you have exposure to lots of different people building all sorts of different businesses across all different industries and niches. Do you find that like everybody's got that draw? Do some people just, how did I get here, and are trying to deviate from the path of entrepreneurship?
Uh, I'd say yeah. Like one of my previous mentors, he'd always say entrepreneurs are a group of crazies, meaning like you kind of have to be crazy to go out and build a business because the odds are stacked against you. Most will
Totally.
fail. But yeah, I think to make any business work, you need to have like an unrealistic belief and be willing to keep going when it seems like nothing's working, that sort of stuff. And yeah, like you were saying, it's super hard. Like stuff always goes wrong, but that's like normal. So you're
Yeah,
picking like a career path where
totally.
bad stuff just happens. That's just part of it. But yeah, I think a lot of what I see from entrepreneurs is just, they build something that they're super passionate behind and they just make it work when, a bunch of other people couldn't.
One of the things that I'm really in pursuit of is finding the rhythm of all of this. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for almost 5 full years now. I've always been
Nice.
entrepreneurial. I've always had a hustle. I've always been doing something my whole life. Always had something going on. But full-time entrepreneurship with my partner 5 years ago. And what I struggle with personally is finding the rhythm. Like, I am my business and it is me, and I'm totally founder led, and like everywhere I go I rock the brand, and like it's just me. And so I have a really hard time, especially as the CEO and the walking billboard for this business, in finding the rhythm. I specifically choose the word, it's not balance. Like, I'm totally whacked out of balance. Like, I'm totally skewed. My wife wants to kill me. I'm totally
Yeah.
skewed. But finding the rhythm, like the right time to step on the gas, knowing when to be patient, knowing when to look at your numbers or your pipeline or your people or whatever your scenario might be, and just taking a really long-term approach to building a sustainable business. And so I'm trying to learn from you, man. Like, I wonder, what does rhythm look like for you? And what are you doing day in and day out to just like not tweak out?
Yeah, well, I want to touch on the work life balance piece. I can't remember who said it, but recently I heard something along the lines of like it's like the trade-off you get for starting your own business and loving what you do every day and working with cool people. Like you just don't get to turn it off. Like if you
Mm.
have a job, you get to go there and you probably aren't going to love it and there's always something else you'd probably rather do. But you get a vacation and you get to turn off your cell phone and stuff like that. It's like the trade-off. Like your work kind of meshes into your life and that's just what it is. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, why are you working all the time? It's the weekend or it's the holidays or something like that. And I think a good perspective is like, well, that's kind of what I signed up for. This is like the pro of not having to work on a job I don't like. So that's how I view it. Because I'm the same way as you. In
Yeah.
terms of like rhythm, I think it depends. Like, I think it's really important to enjoy things when they're going really well because entrepreneurship is such a like up and down type life experience. And I think if you don't like take a step back and be proud of kind of what you've accomplished from time to time, like, and that can mean a bunch of different things, like take some time off, go buy a cool car, or, you know, like just don't be stressed out 24/7. I think that's important because like it truly is this marathon race, not this quick sprint. But for me, I like to stay in my lane a lot. And what I mean by that is I'm a marketer by trade. Love coming on podcasts like this. I love to do social marketing, clipping up YouTube videos, going over our paid ad campaigns, stuff like that. But when I get into like customer support too much or product development, stuff like that, which I, as you probably can relate, you just have to dabble in all departments. But I like to kind of stay in my quote unquote like zone of genius where I feel like I have a competitive edge. And then everything else I try to delegate and hire people smarter than me, people that are passionate about it. And that kind of helps my rhythm.
I'm definitely in that zone. I have a very lean team, but we're indexed towards builders. The team is all builders. I have one soft skills individual that kind of makes the whole system go around. Shout out to Matt Ramos. But I think for me, I'm more in the lane of like have to wear all the hats at the moment. I stay out of the technical department. I'll just muddy the water and make a mess of things over there. So as I'm building for people or the businesses doing that, everything else falls on me, and that's by design. And so I'm approaching the opportunity because it really is a cash equation. You can't just like delegate and hire people without the support of the revenue, of your cash flow, of your profit margin. Like there are things. And so I want to talk about things that I have not chosen to pursue, which is maybe like outside investment. We did a long time ago pursue a loan in order for me to hedge my bet and leave my career behind and make sure that my family was covered and my business partner's family was covered. We took a big business loan, which is an option, but I often give some weird contrarian advice to people that are looking to take the leap from their career to their business, which is stay much longer at your business than you feel you need to and avoid taking things that cause pressure to the business, like a loan, like outside capital.
Yeah.
And so I wonder as I'm approaching, and again, I'm learning, man. Like I'm here. I want to know about moments and what you've seen from people that you've helped and watched come through your business. And we'll get in all into acquire.com for sure. But what are some of the things that folks that are in my position that are like preparing for scale, preparing for delegation, preparing to make hires for strategic roles? What are some of the indicators that we should be looking for and act towards?
Yeah. And you said a lot of stuff I completely agree with. Like with delegating and hiring, it comes with like different seasons. Like when I started Acquire, I was literally doing everything. I was the only person. I was doing like all marketing, all product development, uh, like looking at the listings, doing the newsletter, like working 20 hours a day. This was during COVID. Yeah. So, and you just have to get through that. And the big plus of it is, you don't have the cash to hire someone, so you don't burn money. And then two, more importantly, you get to understand those roles really well. So when you do go to hire them, you can hire someone really, really good because you've done that role. All the roles I've really failed at hiring go along the lines of hire someone for something I have no idea how to do, bring them in. They don't necessarily do the best job or they don't move the needle and the role doesn't work out. And I could have saved, both of us a ton of headaches if I understood the role, look for someone based on the qualities and attributes of the success I'm seeing in the role. So I think just knowing that is important. Like you're going to have to do kind of everything for probably a while. And then at some point, if you're lucky, you can start delegating, but don't try to do that too soon. And then the part about like financing and you got to do what you got to do. Every business is different. I think there's a lot of truth to staying in your job if you have a startup idea until you're generating some revenue. Um, because the pressure that you can see from quitting your job, going from a steady paycheck to not seeing any cash come in to trying to make that work, I always see the path of, doing it on the side until it's starting to take off. There's like a little spark there and then jumping full time in, I think is way smarter because again, you get more runway. And I think that's a good way to think of things is, most businesses take years to make work. And if you're only able to do like 6 to 8 months, that's going to be tough and it's going to be stressful. And you might just need more time. And if you don't kind of optimize your runway to give you that time, you might not even get off the ground before it even starts working. And then one interesting part about, raising capital that I talk to entrepreneurs a lot about is when you go to sell your business, if you say bootstrap the business, you own the whole company, number one, it's typically easier to find buyers for that type of business. And then two, when you sell the business, you don't have something called a liquidation preference,
Hmm.
which means if you raise, 2-3 million bucks because you started the business and you thought you wanted to build this, multi-billion-dollar thing, and 2 years in, you realized, maybe this is a great 10 or $20 million business. When you sell the business, you have to pay investors back first that 2-3 million, whatever you raised, and then what's left over you divide by ownership. So what I'm getting at long-windedly is you can sometimes make more money bootstrapping a business, not raising capital, chewing glass for an extra year or two. It's not necessarily as easy to do, but your outcome when you go to sell can be much higher. And you don't have any approvals from investors. Sometimes investors literally block exits.
I'm really waiting for the time where it's like not so um, popular. Maybe that's the right word. Not so popular to just like run out of the gate and catch a seed round, run out of the gate and catch some investors from family and friends or a strategic investor or something like that. Like I'm waiting for the bootstrap culture to like really take center stage. And like I think it's been kind of an award that people really want a trophy of, like building a business from zero to market is like I went out and got this seed investment or something like that. And like you see those stories all the time, and it definitely has its purpose. You said that a moment ago, which is like you got to do what you got to do. And if like there's a real reason you really need to ramp, you found your product market fit, and you need to pour gasoline on your scenario, like there's a tons of reasons why you do that. But I'm not so sure that like the bootstrapper gets enough visibility and enough credit for being patient and for doing
Yeah,
things
I
organically and
agree.
slowly and deliberately. And we definitely took the route of bootstrap for now. I think in a service business that's more common than trying to be in like an accelerated startup, especially in tech, where it's like really just common culture to go and take all sorts of outside investment. I'm wondering if you see a difference, even from your own experience, in like the passion, like the founders' passion for what they're building, if they're bootstrapped versus investor backed.
I think it's going to depend on the founder. Like, I think on both sides of the fence, you get, people, like I always say, raise capital if you want to change a market, bootstrap if you want to get rich. So I think if you have people raising capital and they just want to get rich, that's where you kind of get that vibe. And then for bootstrapping, maybe they wanted to, you know, they were starting the business for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say so, just if I had to give a specific answer, because typically bootstrap businesses are just harder to build and you're kind of doubted the whole time. You don't have like this instant immediate validation from big investors and this big social media announcement. You got to kind of claw for each customer. You got to, eat top ramen for a lot longer. So I think founders that have built profitable businesses from absolutely nothing, they definitely have, more passion in them for sure.
So I got to ask you a question, because I have, as a development agency, I have built too many marketplaces. That is like the hardest category to really find traction in, because you got two customers.
Yeah.
You got the buyer and the seller. And so, man, why did you make a business for businesses, and why did you go down the marketplace route? You specialized in kind of this merger acquisition moment and helping businesses see the future. But like you chose a hell of a category, and a really hard way of doing it is building a marketplace. And I've watched you be very successful in all of this. And so let's get into what acquire.com is. I'd love to hear what the inception story is, and like where the light bulb moment went off that you had a moment here. And maybe you could just tell me a little bit about your trials and tribulations about making a marketplace work, because that's a grueling
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, sure. So Acquire.com, we are the largest marketplace to buy and sell online businesses. So think SaaS, e-commerce, other marketplaces, mobile apps, those types of businesses. I started because I sold a company before this. I bootstrapped a SaaS business to a few million in revenue and sold it to a private equity firm. And I just thought, oh, it'd be like private equity or financial buyer. Oh, there's like 200 of you. Like there's so many private equity firms.
Sure.
And when I sold the business, I didn't necessarily know that. I kind of knew the world of acquisitions. To me, it was like Google mails you a check and you're acquired and that's it. But there's a much more detailed process to it. And there's a ton of people involved. You have bankers, you have attorneys, you have different types of buyers. I just thought it'd be cool to put everyone in the marketplace and try to make that process simpler for founders. Um, so since I started the business about 5 years ago, we've helped about 3,000 startups sell. We've done about
Wow.
half a billion in closed transactions.
Wow.
But I never thought it would get to where it is today. I honestly started it during COVID, or I started it like a year before COVID as a way to create like deal flow for myself. Because I started reading about people buying these small SaaS businesses,
Mhm.
and I had just sold my SaaS business. And I thought it'd be cool to roll up a few, have a portfolio, nothing major, just like, a few doing 10K a month or something like that. And then I launched it for free. It's completely free. So that kind of got the spark going. And it just took off. Like there was just a clear need in the market.
Wow.
Basically, other founders like me, where they had a SaaS business and the business was profitable. They had a couple buyers reach out here and there, but never went anywhere. But they were interested in selling. And as soon as I launched it, inventory picked up, buyers picked up. The hardest part was the beginning, though, because, like you said, there's this chicken and egg problem. Founders are listing their startup to sell it, and buyers are registering so they can acquire businesses, and they want quality deal flow and have good inventory. So if you don't have either side, both sides are kind of pissed. So what I did, like one trick to kind of get the spark going before I like personally announced it, I just cold emailed, different founders and
Hmm.
different buyers, and the founders would email me back and say, "I don't want to sell my startup. Don't email me," because they get tons of those emails from different advisors, investment banks, etc.
Of
So I
course.
changed the email to say, "Hey, do you want to buy a startup? Go to wire.com, check it out." And that was like less intrusive. And they were like, "Oh, I'll check it out. I'll register. Oh, this is cool. Oh, I want to sell my startup." And they list, and then I go to buyers and I'd say, "Hey, here's like a few deals I think would be relevant." And then from there, like it's really critical to get word of mouth going. So from there, people just started talking and sharing, and kind of went from there.
Wow. I find the marketplace scenario is definitely grueling. If most people that are building a marketplace have experience on one or the other side of that marketplace, have found like a small problem in an industry and like want to try and build that. It's a dual marketing strategy. Like you have to find your buyers and your sellers, and you're talking about having like a fully saturated platform for both of those. Like it's not an easy route. Did you do yours bootstrap? Like these are the days of just like Andrew grinding and doing all these things on your own?
Yeah, it was just me. It was literally just me. I hired a third party development firm because I'm not technical
Sure.
to build the marketplace. But yeah, because we vet every listing, we don't just let any startup. We'll look at metrics, quality of the business. Does it have a reasonable asking price, stuff like that. So I was approving every startup. I was doing full customer support. I was like sitting on live chat, uh, marketing, you name it.
There's something to be said about just like taking the long route on a marketplace. Lots of times these are really just like the hardest businesses to find super traction on. But like once you get to a critical mass, kind of just does the work on it on its own. Not that you guys are not like really doubling down and making the effort on it 100%. Now it's a large corporation, but like to get through that initial moment, I've watched so many founders just like not be able to find their initial audience. And so that's like really cool to just hear that like you found a problem, the thesis proved true, and did it like just at the leanest way possible until you could find a little product market fit. So that's definitely like just a master class in general and like the route to potentially take for certain marketplace ideas. I find that really interesting. What my question is also really around like why the area of acquisition? Like what was the impetus in the market? What was happening around then? Like you talked a little bit about like large global forces of what was happening, but was there like a large saturation of businesses looking for acquisition back then? Is that different from the way that the market is today? Like what's kind of happening in the greater economy scale?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've thought of this quite a bit. I don't really talk about it too much because I'm not like sure what happened, but
Me neither.
I launched during COVID, and like one shift that happened in the world was everybody just went online. Like meetings that normally would be in person. Like when you
Hmm.
think of acquisitions, at least I would think of like golf course, steak dinner,
Totally.
fly to the office, meet people, handshakes, old school type stuff. And then during COVID, the shift was a lot of these deals moved completely online. Like venture capital was a good example where everyone started doing investments in
Hmm.
on Zoom for the first time ever, which today seems completely normal, but 5 years
Commonplace,
ago,
right?
yeah, you'd have to go to a firm's office, meet a bunch of people, do a presentation. Same with acquisitions. Like you'd have to meet the buyers. It'd be a much more, strenuous process. And so since I launched it during COVID and all of that moved online, people were more comfortable with the marketplace model than in the past because there was a few other businesses that tried it. There was a company called Exit Round, which we acquired, just the
Mhm.
the brand and the assets. But they tried to do a startup acquisition marketplace and it didn't work. So sometimes just timing can be the biggest factor of startup success. There's a really good TED talk on that. I think it's like Bill Gross who talks about it. Like
Mm.
Uber comes out when the phone comes out, so you can call a taxi to you. Airbnb during an economic downturn when people are, more comfortable renting their house because they need some extra cash. So, I mean, I didn't plan for that. That wasn't my grand strategy. Sometimes you just need to catch a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying, which is, stay lean, stay patient. Because sometimes, time in the market can literally, be what makes you successful or not.
You guys have, and I'm a student of this, like you guys have developed a lot of material to help business owners in various stages of their journey to help them prepare at different stages. Like if you're a founder today, you're opening your business today, what are the things that you can do today to help you have the option of a successful future? If you're already at your future and you're looking for the next phase, what's the checklist of things that you can do to prepare your business to be most attractive? I wonder if you could give me just a 30,000-foot overview of those two perspectives. If I'm a founder today, leaving my job, building my business, and I want to do it in a way that gives me a sustainable future, give it a 5-year timeline or something like that, and one of my goals is acquisition, what are the things that I can do today at the foundation of my business? What should I focus on and prepare for? And then twofold, if I'm at the end of that life cycle, if I'm looking for my exit strategy in the acquisition space, or I'm looking for a merger or a buyout or something like that, what's the checklist of things that I can do to make sure that my package is as attractive as possible for now?
Yeah, if you're just starting a business, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on it or too much thought into it. But easy wins are just organize everything. Meaning, if you hire a developer, have a contract that you both sign, include all the services with, you know, where do you log into each one on a single document, marketing campaigns, logos that you make, just throw it in a folder. So, if anyone reaches out or you do go to sell your business, you have like a little built-in data room,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be anything, crazy detailed. Just, a folder with a bunch of stuff. My organization is more than enough. There was a founder we recently helped sell that would record a Loom video for every question that his team would ask. That's a great way to go about it. And it was a remote team. So someone asked, where do I find the answer to this customer support ticket? It's like, oh, go on HubSpot, go here. And so every question was answered like that. And the benefit when you go to sell is one of every buyer's concerns is wrapping their head around the business. And
Sure.
if you leave, can they keep running it? If you have this ginormous operations manual on how every process works, um, that is going to dramatically make things easier when you sell.
Mm.
If you're, let's say you're profitable and you're thinking about selling today, the number one thing you can do for sure, hands down, is just hire a good bookkeeper. Have someone come in, give you a clean 36-month P&L with expenses broken out, revenue by month, something that, financial buyers and strategic buyers can both read and get, a good idea of the health of your business. That was a good piece of advice. One of my previous investors in my last company gave me was, if you hire an accountant or a VP of finance or something like that, you can add like 20-30% on your purchase price just from goodwill with
Mm.
the buyer. Because when you sell to private equity, they're going to have, detailed financial questions like, can you do a cohort analysis of your top 20 customers and stuff like that? And just being able to get that to them really quickly can build trust and get them, more interested in buying business.
It's interesting that you go down that route of just having like clean financial knowledge of your business. Like in my business, as a service-based business, the equation of having clean finances, projecting your future, and like trying to figure out what sustainability looks like, and like is there a moment of death that's coming that you really are unaware of and can't see in the future. We went as far as to build our own tool. I built finforecasting.com, which is like a
Nice.
specialty tool for my type of agency. It's its own SaaS product. Like, we got so obsessed with the numbers, and I don't even have a goal. I don't even have a goal of selling or whatever. When this business is running great, it's freaking great. I don't have like, I have no dreams of selling it or being acquired or anything like that. Sometimes we talk about it pie in the sky, but I think you don't pick a fruit before it's ripe. I learned that from a mentor a little while ago. So we don't even know like where ripe is for our business just yet. But we got so obsessed with the numbers, man. We have a bookkeeper. We have a relationship with the CPA. We talk to him every 2 weeks. Like, we got so obsessed with the numbers and don't even have that goal that we're like marching towards. So I think that's like great advice, is really keeping just a sound book and
Uh,
pursuing the numbers off the top of the head. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one other thing I just want to add too. I mean, the main thing is building a business that is not worth selling. That's what all buyers want to buy. So when you're describing your
Yeah.
business, you're running it well, it's operationally sound, you have all your numbers in front of you. That's what buyers want. So I
Mm.
think if you focus on literally anything, build a great business, ideally profitable, grow as much as you can, just build something that you wouldn't mind running for the next 5 to 10 years.
That's what we did, man. We literally have pursued profitability and margin at all costs. Like, the goal is to provide the sexiest, best client experience that we possibly can. I like wanted to create the most attractive business just from a lead gen perspective. And it sounds like
Yeah.
by doing all of those things, you make like just an attractive business for buyers, which I find very interesting. The question is, and maybe you can answer this one, because I sure am not able to, are service businesses even attractive for acquisition?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We help so many agencies get acquired. 100%. The main thing is just profitability. And then in agencies cases or other service businesses, just predictability of revenue, meaning if it's all reliant on the owner, like we see this from time to time where the owner is like the lead designer or something like
Sure.
that, or lead engineer. And if he sells the business or she sells the business, they won't be able to continue providing that service. Those ones are going to be harder to sell. The best ones to build and sell are going to be ones with some sort of productized service with a recurring revenue component.
Yep.
Quality of revenue is a big selling point to buyers, meaning every month they have some view into the consistency of the revenue and they can plan around that. But I mean, absolutely all day long.
That's what we did. That's why I even built the tool, because I could see it for only so far ahead, but I need to see it super far ahead to make strategic decisions and kind of align ourselves today for what's going to happen in the future. And it's kind of hard to tell how the industry is turning, but like, AI showed up at the right freaking time in history. Talk about just having a lucky moment of building a business that like our ancestors didn't have to go through, and they were building businesses at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
So it's just like right time in history to be building in technology. And yeah, I mean, sounds like we're doing some good things. Sounds like we're doing some good things. So I have
Yeah.
a question for you. Like, what kills deals? Like, you get to the goal line, you have a listing on acquire.com, business looks attractive, profitable, things are in order. Like, we have buyers that are interested. What are some of the things that are happening that just stop it?
Surprises. Like not being honest or forthcoming about bumps and bruises in your business. That's probably the biggest one, where a buyer views the business as, this state of quality, revenue is here, churn is here, profitability is here. And then you get deep into due diligence and there's like a third co-founder, or you were removing this expense and showing your business is more profitable when it's really an expense. Stuff like that for sure. And I think the worst part about that is most buyers generally, will still buy the business, but it's just you break that trust during that process when stuff that you should have been forthcoming about you weren't, because there's a lot of trust and goodwill involved in acquisitions. Buyers are taking a ton of risk. They're gonna literally give you millions of dollars, so they don't want to lose that money, obviously. And so when they feel like the acquisition transaction carries more risk than they originally thought, that's where deals tend to fall off. And then before they even get started, the biggest deal derailer that I see is just being too unrealistic on asking price,
Hmm.
not knowing what businesses like yourself for, trying to sell for 100 times revenue because Google bought a company like that, stuff like that. Selling off financial projections, meaning like this company is worth $10 million because it could make $2 or $3 million a year. Because all buyers are going to value your business based on what you've executed today,
Right.
rather not what it could do in the future.
You know, I just from what I've seen, I've had lots of businesses come through our startup studio. And so one of the biggest things that I see that actually kills the dream is ego. It's not even
Yeah,
like, it's not even the product itself. It's not even whether it's good or whether it can make some money or anything like that. It's like the beating chest. It's like thinking that what you've built is going to change the world, change the market. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the things that actually do change markets and change the world and are at global scale and like truly effective, that wasn't the goal. You know, it wasn't a founder waking up in the morning
yeah.
just buying their own sauce off the shelf. Like, so I wonder if you kind of see the personal side of all of that. Like you're talking about like kind of business ethics and like getting to the deal table and kind of doing things in secrecy or not revealing all your cards. But I
You're
wonder if
spot on.
you're buying the
Emotions.
individual too.
Yeah, a lot of what we do at Acquire is just playing like therapists, where we're talking with the buyer and the seller. We're keeping the deal together. Maybe the deal drags on for one reason or another. They start to hate each other. One person wants to blow up the deal, walk away from it. The buyer wants to reduce the price. Just I see so much of that, and it's natural too. Again, there's a lot of money on the line. It's a big deal for both parties. So keeping that together is a big part of a successful transaction. And yeah, you hit it on the nail. Ego, emotion, stuff like that. That I've seen those derail quite a bit of deals.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate it, man. Like this for me is a little bit of a master class on how to situate myself, and I know that my audience watching this is going through all sorts of different stages in building businesses, trying to sell businesses, trying to find their product market fit, going through the rigor of building a business from zero to market. And so this kind of covered all the notes, and I appreciate you and what you've built, and you have been incredibly public and available and building in public, and you guys have created an incredible amount of content to support founders at all different areas of their journey. And so I'd love to give you the last word. How can people get involved with you? How can they get involved with your business? And you can plug anything that's meaningful to you as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast. This was a
Pleasure.
blast. You're a great interviewer.
Thanks, man.
Uh, and then if you want to reach out to me, andrew@acquire.com, you can find me on Twitter at @agazdecki, or just go to acquire.com. Justin, can you still hear or see me? You're frozen on my end.
Still with me, man?
Yeah.
You know what? There was a power outage. I can't even plan for shit like that.
Hey, good timing.
Go figure. I'm like, I just put it on the hotspot on the phone. Go figure, man. How are you gonna get a power outage going live? Well,
Uh,
all good.
it's
We
right at the
saved the
end,
show.
dude. Right at the
Right,
end.
right at the end.
Something
It
to be
all worked
grateful
out.
for. Yeah.
It all worked out. I'm definitely grateful for it. And here we are. We're still running. And so we left off. It's your final word. How can people get involved in the things you care about?
You can go to acquire.com if you're looking to buy or sell a business. You can follow me on Twitter at @agazdecki, or just shoot me an email, andrew@acquire.com.
Awesome. Well, Andrew Gazdecki, it is absolutely a pleasure to now be your friend and to, of course, be a student of what you've built. I've certainly been watching and I'm grateful. And so thanks so much for your excellence. And thanks for joining this episode of Strictly from Nowhere.
Thanks for having me on.